Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's your first time. Today we're going to be drafting the basic sleeve sloper. So here are the measurements you'll be needing. You want to feel on your shoulder where your shoulder joint is. That will be your shoulder point. You're going to measure from that point down towards your elbow. You're going to bend your hand slightly to get your elbow point. So you're going to measure from your shoulder to your elbow, write that measurement down and continue down to your wrist, just above your wrist bone or below your wrist bone, depending on how you want it. You're also going to write your shoulder to your wrist measurement down. Then you're going to measure around your wrist. Now for around the wrist, we measure around the arm, the hand. So you're going to fold your big thumb into your palm and you're going to measure around where your big thumb folds in, like this. So that will be your wrist measurement. Then you're going to measure around your bicep. So you're going to measure around your bicep like this, making sure there's ease of movement. The next measurement we're going to be taking is our cap height. So you're going to measure from your shoulder to your underarm, and this will be our cap height for the sleeve. Now to begin drafting the pattern, the first thing you're going to do is measure your bodice block around the armscye or along the armscye. Now if you haven't seen my tutorial on how to draft your bodice block, I'm going to have it linked in the description box. So when you measure the armscye, you're going to write that down, and then we can start drafting our sleeve sloper. So on my paper, I'm just drawing a straight line, and at the top of that line, I'm going to mark that point A, and then I'm going to measure downwards the length of our sleeve, the overall length of our sleeve. So mine, I'm working with 22.5. Measure that down and mark that point B, and on that B point I'm going to square a line outwards for the hem of the sleeve. Now from the top of my paper, I'm going to mark downwards 6 inches, which is my cap height, and I'm going to square that line on both sides of my center line. And from the top of my A points, my paper, I'm going to mark downwards the length of my shoulder to my elbow as well, and square that line outwards. And then I'm going to label those lines. I have my elbow, I have my bicep, my elbow, and my wrist. Now on my bicep line, we're going to take the what we measured for our bicep, divide that by 2 and place that measurement on both sides of that line. So for me, my bicep was 12 inches, divide that by 2, I have 6 inches on both sides of that line. And then I'm going to connect that point from the bicep line to the top of my paper, which is labeled A on both sides of my paper. On the line at the top, I divided that line into 4 right here. So I've divided that line into 4 and I'm marking those points on both sides of the paper. So I'm doing the same thing on the other side. Take that measurement and then divide that by 4 and mark those points on that line. And then you're going to decide which will be your front and which will be your back. So here I have my front and the other side is my back pattern. Now I'm just squaring a line at the top of my paper just for reference, it's not important. Now on my front pattern, I'm going downwards on the first line by 1/2 inch, and on the second point upwards by 1/4 inch, and on the third point I'm going upwards by 3/4 inch. And on the back sleeve, I'm going to go inwards by 1/4 inch on the first point. On the second point, I'm going outwards by 1/4 inch, and on the third point, I'm going outwards by 5/8 inch. So here I have 1/2 inch downwards, 1/4 inch upwards, and 3/4 upwards. The other side I have 1/4 inwards, 1/4 outwards, and 5/8 inch outwards. And then I'm going to use my curved ruler to join those points together. Now once I'm done with that, I'm just going to go ahead and measure out the curve I just made for both the front and the back, making sure that it matches with the bodies of my pattern. Now for my front, I have a 1 inch excess, which is good, and also I'm going to measure the back also and place the body's measurements down, mark that down, and then measure the excess, which is about 1 inch. So altogether I have 2 inch excess, which is okay because this is the kind of sleeve you ease into the pattern. So I'm going to leave that as it is. Now on the hem of my pattern, which is my wrist, I'm dividing my wrist measurement into two and placing 1/2 of that measurement on both sides of my pattern, and then I'm going to connect that with my bicep line. So I'm going to do that for both the front and the back of my pattern. So I'm connecting my wrist to my bicep also on the back of my pattern. Now on the back of the pattern, we're going to be adding a dot on the elbow point. So on my elbow line, I'm going to mark that half of my back pattern in two, measure that from the grain line to the side in two, divide that by 2 and mark that point, and from the elbow line I'm going to go downwards 1 inch and outwards at the elbow line 3/8 inch, and I'm going to connect that 3/8 inch to the bicep and then also draw in my dot line like this. Now on the wrist of my back sleeve, I'm going to go inwards on that line by 3/4 inch, and on the second dart leg I'm going to go outwards by 3/8 inch, and I'm going to connect those points, drawing my new side seam for my back sleeve. So now because we went inwards 3/8 inch on the back, we're going to go outwards 3/8 inch at the front and then connect that also to the elbow line. Now we're going to take the measurement from the elbow to the wrist of the front pattern and report that measurement to the back pattern. So mine measured 9 inches. I'm going to report that measurement to the back and draw in my new wrist line. So this will be my new hemline. And once that's done, you've basically completed the pattern piece. So here I'm just going to go ahead and erase all the lines I won't be needing so there's no confusion. And And once you're done erasing the line, you can just go ahead and elongate your grain line, so the line in the middle will become a grain line. You can go ahead and add your seam allowances around your pattern. And I also went in to add my notch. So my notch is, I'm adding 2 notches at the back and then 1 notch in the front. Make sure your notch placement matches your bodice pattern. And that's it for the sleeve pattern drafting. Go ahead, add your seam allowances and your hem allowance, and you're done. I hope this tutorial was easy for you to follow. If you learned something, please subscribe to the channel, consider liking the video and sharing with your friends. Thanks.